Story 1. The White Dress. So, this story is about my friend's mother-in-law and her wedding, and, well, it's one for the books. Buckle up because I did something at this wedding that got me permanently banned from all future family events, plus, there were some serious threats of dismemberment. Let me start from the beginning. A good friend of mine from college was getting married. She and her now husband had been together for 6 years, since their junior year of college. She'd gone through a couple years in the Peace Corps, and finally, after she came back to the States, they decided to tie the knot. She'd always said that her ML secretly hated her, but she never let on too much, being the quiet and sweet person she is. Here's the first fun fact. My friend is vegetarian and Jewish, and her husband is not. A few years ago, she was invited to Christmas dinner at her MIL's house, and since she didn't eat meat, she brought her own vegetarian casserole. Despite knowing this fact for years and even being reminded weeks earlier, MIL still managed to put meat in every single dish. My friend ended up eating just her casserole while ML loudly complained to everyone about how rude my friend was for not eating her cooking. Classic MIL move. Now, fast forward to the wedding planning. I was in the bridal party, along with a few other friends. My friend has a massive family, so this wedding was not going to be small. Neither of them are religious, but my friend decided it would be nice to get married under a huppah, a Jewish wedding canopy. The husband didn't care either way, so he told her to go ahead and rent one. Now, cue the drama. At the bridal shower, MIL finds out that the pretty canopy is actually a huppah. And she lost it, right in front of everyone. She started angrily laughing and yelled that, if the Jews were being represented, so should the Catholics. My mind did a full screeching halt, because, surprise, they're not Catholic. After hours of shouting, crying, and threats, mostly involving withdrawing money she didn't contribute, MIL finally backed down. Huppah stayed, Catholic priest did not. Victory, right? But then, the night before the wedding, my friend texted me saying she had a bad feeling. I told her it was just nerves. Nope. Totally wrong. On the big day, we're all getting ready, hair, makeup, dresses, and my friend mentions that she hasn't seen her MIL all day. Apparently, MIL skipped her hair and makeup appointment. We all exchanged glances, took a sip of wine, and just waited for the other shoe to drop. And drop it did. 30 minutes before the ceremony, guess who shows up? MIL, flushed, sweating, and wearing a full-on white wedding dress. Not ivory, not cream, no. A full, satin, snow-white wedding gown from David's Bridal. Sweetheart neckline, beaded top, lace trim at the bottom, and tailored just for her. It was like she had been planning this moment for years. The bride burst into tears, and we had to get ML out of the room while trying to console my friend. After a lot of touching up and some soothing words, I promised my friend the dress would never make it into a photo. She gave me a nod of approval, and that's when the game officially began. Here's where things get fun. The venue only had white wine and champagne for the wedding party, so I did what any reasonable person would do. I ran to the bar, slipped the attendant a $20, and got myself a bottle of red wine. I poured it into a solo cup, filled it to the brim, and headed straight for MIL, who was still in her stolen dress, being held back by family members. I casually walked up, pretended to check my phone, and then poured the entire cup of wine down the front of her dress. The look on her face was pure rage, and the whole room went silent as she flipped out. She screamed, threatened me, and even said she'd sue me. People had to physically hold her back as she tried to fight me. Eventually, she collapsed in a dramatic heap on the floor, sobbing and throwing a tantrum while the rest of us walked away to take photos. It was like watching a child throw a fit at a grocery store, but in full wedding attire. The 12-year-old flower girl even snapped a couple of photos, which we all secretly loved. But the best part? MIL had to go home and change into a dark green, too tight, low-cut dress. In the process, she missed all the photos. And she was fuming. The wedding itself was beautiful, but I definitely got death glares from everyone in her family who believed I was the villain in this story. No regrets, though. I was dancing and drinking with friends, and my friend secretly thanked me later. 3 months later, she treated me to a spa day to say thanks. But yeah, to Emile, I'm now forever that ISIS cunt. And honestly, I'll wear that badge with pride. Comment 1. So wonderful. Just wonderful. But I don't want to be the one to tell you this. But it's Chupa, not Hoopa. Although, pretty much the same pronunciation. Comment 2. You are the ultimate hero. How did your friend's husband react to the white dress? Also, how did Mill try to justify wearing white? Comment 3. A beautiful act. This is true friendship. Comment 4. I will loudly applaud every single member of every wedding party everywhere that sabotages ML wearing white when said ML knew it would piss the bride off / that the bride was already wearing white. Story 2. ML shows up after 25 years and expects to be accepted as a grandmother. Being a single father wasn't a choice I made. My son's mother decided she wanted no part in parenthood just days after he was born. She said she wasn't ready, wouldn't feed him, wouldn't hold him. I was 21, scared, but ready to support her, thinking it might be postpartum. But she was resolute. Packed her bags at the hospital, her final words a cold declaration that she never wanted to see either of us again. And she never has. Part of me always suspected her mother, my son Emile, had a hand in it. Throughout the pregnancy, all she talked about was how young her daughter was and how it wasn't the right time for a child. I had no proof, but the feeling lingered. So there I was, a 21-year-old with an infant. College was out, replaced by long hours working to provide for my son. Thankfully, I wasn't entirely alone. Kind people stepped up, babysitting, offering advice. I'll always be grateful for their support. As my son grew, things got a little easier. Kindergarten allowed me to work more consistently. Through it all, I held on to a sliver of hope that his mother would eventually come around, realize she couldn't just abandon her child. I left my contact information, but the phone never rang, no letters arrived. She never once exercised her right to visit him. When he was little, he'd ask why his mother left, why she didn't want him. I never knew what to say, always trying to shield him from any negativity about her. Now, my son is 25, a hard-working, educated young man. I'm incredibly proud of him, and proud of myself for raising him into the good person he is. We stopped talking about his mother years ago. It was his decision. He simply said if she didn't want to be a part of our lives, it was her loss. Then, out of the blue, his Emile appeared on our doorstep. No call, no warning, just there to visit her grandson. I almost didn't recognize her. So many years had passed. She acted as if she were a loving grandmother who visited regularly, not someone who'd been absent for a quarter of a century. My son didn't recognize her either. I had shown him pictures of his mother and grandmother over the years, just in case, but I never truly expected them to show up. She rushed towards him, arms outstretched for a hug, gushing about how big and handsome he'd become. He instinctively recoiled, looking utterly confused. I told him it was his grandmother, who had decided to pay a surprise visit. He just said, "Oh," and walked away. The Emile didn't take this well. She glared at me. What have you taught him if he doesn't even say hello to his grandmother? He's looking at me like I'm a stranger. Haven't you told him about his mother and me? Shown him our pictures? Technically, you are a stranger, I thought. He'd never met you in person. Why the surprise? You show up after 25 years and expect a loving embrace? The delusion was strong with this one. My son then spoke, his voice tight. Dad did show me your picture, but I didn't need a picture. I needed you to be there. He peppered her with questions, his tone sharp. Her responses were shockingly narrow-minded, like she hadn't anticipated any questions at all. When he asked about his mother, she chirped, "Oh, she's doing wonderfully. Living with a lovely man, 2 beautiful children. She's completely moved past that little misunderstanding about your birth." A misunderstanding? Her daughter abandoned her newborn son. She was painting herself as the victim. He pressed further, asking why his mother had abandoned him. Well, the Emile said dismissively she was so young. It would have been crazy for her to have a baby at that age. She had her whole life ahead of her. A baby would have just been an obstacle. You have to understand, she didn't want to lose her freedom. Her daughter was 24 when my son was born, older than I was. It wasn't some teenage pregnancy. And frankly, age is irrelevant. I was young too, but I didn't walk away. I loved my son and wanted to be his father. I was ready to tell the MIL to get out, but my son stopped me. He had one more question. He asked why she hadn't wanted to be his grandmother. His mother left, fine, but why did the MIL leave him too? Her answer was appalling. Well, I didn't have time to take care of you. I was a young woman too. I had my own life. Grandkids are only obligated to take care of grandparents when they're old, and that's why I'm here. That was it. My son told her to leave and never come back, that he wanted nothing to do with her. As she was walking out the door, she turned on me, spitting out, "That's what I thought. A man alone can't raise a proper human being. Look at him. So rude and impolite. He would have been better off in an orphanage than with you." So, according to her, the lesson is, don't have kids young, or if you do, feel free to abandon them and then show up decades later expecting a warm welcome. Seriously, what in the world was she expecting? Comment 1. Well done to your son and to you for raising a man who knows his worth and can read through the bullshit she's spouting. I'd encourage him to waste no tears on this waste of space. Comment 2. Throw her own words back in her face. Well, I'm such a young man, it would be craziness for me to have to care for a grandparent at this age. I have my whole life ahead of me and a useless hag would only be an obstacle. You must understand it. I don't want to lose my freedom. How dare she? I mean, not even turning up at 18, but a whole 25 years, quarter of a century later. Karma is a bitch, and she will die alone for what she's done because it sounds like your son's egg donor has already shut her mom out for being inconvenient, too. Comment 3. Didn't matter what SG wanted. That fine young man that you raised handed her ass. Well done, Dad, on several levels, but mostly for teaching your son how to handle assholes. Comment 4. In some ways, she did your son a favor by turning up and being herself. The way she acted in answers to his questions showed that son's suspicions that he wasn't wanted for whatever reason were sadly confirmed, and her whole visit showed that she wasn't worth keeping in his life. It's sad that she just dropped that his mother had another family and children that were worth more than you and him. Comment 5. You raised a way better kid than JustNoMil did. Story 3. Emile suggested that DH leave me at the hospital to have lunch and hang out with her the day of my C-section. I'm currently pregnant with my first baby and have a scheduled C-section coming up. My Emile seems to have a very different idea of how things should go than we do. She's been really insistent about being in the hospital waiting room during my surgery. My husband has already told her firmly that we are not having any visitors on the day of the birth and that any visits after that will depend entirely on how I'm feeling. I'm also planning to make it crystal clear to the hospital staff that absolutely no visitors are allowed until I personally give explicit permission. Adding to this, she then suggested that my husband should leave the hospital on the day of my surgery to go out to eat with her nearby. While he told her no, he didn't seem to think the request was as unreasonable as I do. To me, it feels completely absurd to even consider him leaving the hospital at all during those first precious few days. We're there for the arrival of our first child, and I can't imagine him wanting to be anywhere else. Honestly, I'm also trying to understand if it's a common thing for people to want to sit in the waiting room during a C-section, even if they know they won't be able to visit the mom or the baby that day. I get that she's excited and might feel like she wants to be there in case we need anything, but realistically, there's absolutely nothing she can do for us by just being in the waiting room. It feels more like she wants to be present for the event itself, even if she won't actually be involved with us. Comment 1. She probably plans on pushing your DH to let her just pop in and see the baby since she's there already. She'll try to wear him down, and if that fails, turn on the tears and pour me bullshit. Make sure your DH lets her know you guys don't give a shit if she spends all day in the waiting room, but she is not getting in to see the baby. And he is not bringing the baby out to see her. As for the lunch request, that's coconuts. I mean, WTF is going on with your DH not thinking that is strange? Comment 2. She plans to bully her way in. Comment 3. She thinks that you might relent to pressure if she is there, and she will get her way. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.